Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Uche here, and in today's tutorial we are learning how to make this lovely top on your screen. If this is your vibe, you have to keep on watching so you don't miss out on any part of this tutorial. So if you find it helpful, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. So here is a fabric I made use of. This is called a lycra fabric. So it stretches on both ways, as you can see. So I have about 2 yards of fabric right here. So I'm going to draft on the pattern paper and transfer to the main fabric later on. So I will start by marking out my shoulder line right at the top of the pattern paper. I'm going to mark out my shoulder line right here. Next, I'm going to mark out the length of my top. So you can make use of any length you want, but as for me, I think I am marking out 25 inches. Okay, 25 inches is absolutely fine for me. You can see that mine is longer than the inspiration, so you can make yours 23, 24, whatever your preference is. Go ahead to mark it out. All right, so here is my top length. Okay, so the next thing I will mark out now is my waistline. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to mark out my waistline, which is 17 inches. I will also roll it across, as you can see me doing this way. So that is my waistline. All right, so I will come to the shoulder now. I'm going to take my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches right here. I'm going to take my neck width. I took 4 inches. So from the shoulder measurement, I came down by 1 inch, and I will connect to the neck width this way. So from that shoulder slope right now, I'm going to mark my chest line. So I will mark it out here again so I can get an accurate line across. This way I will label it, and I will come to that line now, that my chest line, mark half of my shoulder measurement, and I will connect it to the shoulder line this way. So that is all for that. So I will take my neck depth right now. So for a neck depth, I will use 1 for the back, while for the front I will use 3 inches. Okay, so 1 inch for back, 3 inches for front. I will go ahead to connect it to the neck width. All right, as you can see me doing this way. So I will go ahead now to take my body measurement, my bust divided by 4, and also my waist measurement divided by 4, and as well the hip measurement divided by 4, and I will go ahead to connect the 3 points together. Okay, so from the bust to the waist, I will use the straight part of my ruler, and from the waist to the hip, I use the curved part of my ruler. So the next thing I will do now is to come up this part by 1 inch, because I do not want it to be this pointy, and I will go ahead to blend it to the center this way. After that is done, I'm going to find the midpoint of what I have from the shoulder to the armhole, or the chest line rather. Then I will go ahead to curve my armhole out, as you can see me doing this way. So we are basically done for the drafting. Before I cut it out, I decided to add my sewing allowances on my pattern paper. As you can see, on the shoulder I added ½ inch. On the back neckline, I will also add ½ inch, because I'm going to cut the back neckline first, and that is basically all for that. So I'll go ahead now to cut out. So remember that we are only going to cut out the back neckline. The front remains like that for now. So after I'm done cutting, I place my pattern paper on a folded fabric. All right, so I'll go ahead now to cut out. I'm leaving 1 inch on the down part for hemming allowance, while the other sides remain the same. As you can see, I am not adding any allowance on any part. Okay, so the only allowance I added is on the down part. Remember, we have added allowance on the shoulder and neckline. We'll keep the back piece aside while we work on the front piece. Okay, this is what the back piece looks like. So I will go ahead now to keep it aside. So for my pattern paper right now, I'm going to join this to another pattern paper. So to avoid all of this process, before you start drafting on your pattern paper, make sure your pattern paper is on fold. So if your pattern paper is on fold before you started drafting, you don't need to go through all of this process. As you can see, All I am trying to do here is to like trace out all of this measurement in other side of the pattern paper that I just retaped. All right, so right now I can now open it up and I will have it like looking this way. This is a normal front full basic bodice. Okay, so all my measurements are intact. As you can see, all of my measurements are intact. So what you're going to do now, you are going to manipulate on this pattern so that we can get our slash and spread. So I'm going ahead now to extend my chest line, also extend the waist line. All right, so after extending all the lines, I'm going to come to one side of the shoulder. I'm going to come down by 6 inches. Remember, this is an asymmetric shoulder we are working on, so I'll come down by 6 inches from one side of the shoulder. I'm going to connect it into a straight line, or from the 6 inches upward this way, and then from the 6 inches as well, I'm going to connect it this way. You can see the way I place my ruler. I'm going to connect it to the other side of the shoulder this way. All right, so after doing that, I will go ahead now to cut it out. So before I cut out, I decided to come in by extra ½ inch from this side of the shoulder. Okay, I decided to come in by extra ½ inch. All right, it is totally optional. All right, so I will go ahead now to connect it back this way. Okay, and then I'll proceed to cut it out. So guys, I'm going to go ahead to cut out. So remember the ½ inch we came in by on this other side, so I'm going to repeat the same thing right here. All right, so that we'll have an accurate neckline, because if we don't do this, one side of the shoulder will be wider, sorry, one side of the neckline will be wider than the other. I just hope you understood. All right, so I'll cut it off right now and we'll go ahead to work on the slash and spread. So I'm going to connect this point that looks like V. I'm going to connect it all the way down in a straight manner, as you can see me doing this way. So after doing that, I will now proceed to mark out the lines for my slash and spread. First of all, I will start with the part going towards the shoulder. After that, I will proceed to also mark out the part going to the other side. As you can see what I'm doing, I'm not using any specific measurement, I'm just marking out randomly. And after that is being done, I will go ahead now to measure from this shoulder to the point where my neckline stopped. As you can see, I'm going to indicate what I have there. So when I measured, I have about 7 inches in total. So guys, the reason I wrote it down is for me not to forget by the time I will be joining these two parts together. So I will open this like this and keep that part aside. Make sure you keep it, okay, because you're going to use it later on. Guys, I will start slashing open, as you can see, leaving about 0.25. Make sure you don't slash all through. Can you see what I'm doing? All right, so for the shoulder part, my paper got torn, so I use my paper tape to hold it back. You can see I'm not slashing all through, just leave a tiny thing. The paper don't slash all through. I just hope you understand what I'm saying, okay? So after slashing, you can see I did not slash all through the paper. If you slash all through the paper will cut all through. I just hope you understand what I'm saying. All right, so I'm going ahead now to spread. Can you see what I'm doing? Giving it 1 inch gap. That is how full I want my plate to be around the shoulder part. So if you want yours to be more fuller, just go ahead and spread it more than what I did here. After spreading the shoulder part, I will go ahead now to spread the bodies, as you can see, leaving about 0.3 each. I'm not spreading it up to 1 inch because I don't want, I'm spreading it, I do not want it to be too full, so that's why I'm spreading it by 0.3. If you want it to be very full, you can just go ahead and spread by 1 inch interval. All right, so after spreading it, you can see I'll go ahead now to cut the sides. I'm not adding any side allowance. No, I added ½ inch for the armhole, no shoulder allowance because we've already added shoulder allowance. Then I'll add 1 inch for the down part for the hemming allowance. Then I'll add ½ inch here because we are going to join it to the other side. Hope you understand. And then ½ inch around the neckline for turning the neckline. So this is what I have. I'm going to cut it out again so I can have the lining piece. all right, because I'm going to use this as my lining piece as well. So this is what it will look like, as you can see. So you're going to gather it this way. So I'll keep it aside. So for the other side, remember this side, so I notched the part, the 7 inches where the neckline will start. Can you see I notched it, that point where the neckline started? So this is what I have. I will go ahead now to start pinning. Okay, so from that point where I notched it, I will pin it there, and I will also pin the down part just to secure it. Then the remaining part, I'll go ahead to gather it on that remaining space. I hope you understand. So this is what I have after gathering it. You can see how beautiful it looks. So I will also do the same thing for the lining piece, and this is what it looks like. Can you see? So next thing I will do is to place the right side facing right side. I will go ahead to pin the neckline, okay, so I can be able to turn it. So after pinning it, I'll go ahead now to sew by 1/2 inch this way, following the shape of the neckline. After sewing, so this is the back piece, all right. So remember the 1/2 inch we cut out on the neckline of the front piece, all right. I don't know if you understand that neckline, we reduce it by 1/2 inch. So you will repeat the same thing for the back so that everything will align properly, all right. So this is my facing. I cut out facing for the back, and I will also go ahead to also reduce by 1/2 inch, and then I will go ahead to turn the back neckline. I will place the facing on the main fabric, right side facing right side. I will go ahead to sew by 1/2 inch, turn it, iron out, and bring it back. So this is what the front part looks like. After sewing, turning the neckline, I went ahead to sew everything together to become one piece, and this is the back. So the next thing to do is to go ahead now to join the two shoulders together, all right. So remember that the other part that has ruche on the shoulder, I have not worked on it. So I'm going to measure what I have on the other side of the shoulder, that is the original shoulder. So I'm going to use the whatever measurement I get there to gather this part. Now I'm going to gather this part up to what I have on the other neckline. So after gathering it, this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead to join the front and the back together on the neckline. So I wanted to confirm if what I have is exactly with what I have on the original shoulder, which is correct. So I'll go ahead now to sew the two shoulders. I'm going to use the facing of the back piece to cover up the front, and then I'll pin down, and I will go ahead to repeat the same thing on the other side. So after doing that, I will take it to my sewing machine and sew. So guys, after sewing, this is what I have. I'm not going to turn the down part of the facing because it doesn't free. So this is what I have. You can see this is the wrong side. You can see how lovely it looks. So the next thing to do is to go ahead to sew in the sleeve, all right. So I'm going ahead to cut out a basic sleeve, all right. So go ahead to cut out a basic sleeve. This tutorial is actually long, and I really want to end it very fast because I do not want it to be too long. So after cutting out my basic sleeve, I notched the midpoint, and I'm going to place the midpoint on the joining of the shoulder, and we go ahead to pin everything down. You can see after pinning it down this way on one side, I'll also go to the other side and pin, and after pinning I will sew it, repeat the same thing on the other side, also hem the down part of the sleeve, all right. So guys, after doing everything I explained, this is what it looks like. This is the right side, all right, and you can see that I've not joined the sides, I've not joined the side of the sleeve as well. So I'm going to turn everything to the wrong side, arrange everything up properly, as you can see, from the sleeve to the bodies. So from the sleeve I'm going to sew by 1/2 inch, then when I get to the bodies I will sew by 1 inch, and after that I will also hem the down part of my top, and I will show you all the end results.